The discovery in the ruins Captain Jake Morrison had seen enough alien ruins to know when something was different. The crystalline structures of Kepler 442b stretched endlessly across the barren landscape, their surfaces reflecting the pale light of twin suns. But this particular chamber felt wrong. The air hummed with an energy that made his teeth ache, and the walls pulsed with bioluminescent patterns that seemed almost alive. His team spread out behind him, their boots crunching on. The glass-like debris scattered across the floor. Lieutenant Tom Bradley checked his scanner, frowning at the readings. "Captain, I'm picking up massive energy signatures from the center of the room. Whatever's in there, it's been active for a long time." Jake nodded, his eyes fixed on the object that had drawn them here. In the center of the chamber sat a perfect cube, roughly 3 feet on each side. Its surface was smooth as polished obsidian, but it seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Strange symbols flickered across its faces, appearing and disappearing like thoughts half remembered. "Looks like some kind of storage unit," muttered Corporal Diana Walsh, the team's xenorchaeologist. She approached cautiously, her instruments beeping steadily. "The material composition is unlike anything in our databases. It's not metal, not ceramic, not any known crystalline structure." Jake felt drawn to the cube, as if it were calling to him. He'd explored dozens of alien sites, but nothing had ever affected him this way. The symbols on its surface began to glow brighter as he approached, and he could swear he heard something like a heartbeat echoing through the chamber. "Sir, you might want to see this," Bradley called out. He was examining hieroglyphs carved into the chamber walls. "These markings, they're not like the others we've found. They're warnings. Something about the sleeper within and the price of awakening." Diana's scanner suddenly went wild, emitting a high-pitched whine. "Energy levels are spiking." "Captain, something's happening to the cube." The symbols on the cube's surface began rotating, forming new patterns. Jake found himself reaching toward what appeared to be a seam in the otherwise perfect surface. His hand trembled as he touched the cool material, and the entire structure resonated with a deep, thrumming sound. Then he heard it. A voice, faint, but unmistakably desperate, speaking directly into his mind. "Please ... don't open it. You don't understand what you're about to unleash." Jake jerked his hand back, his heart racing. The voice had been female, filled with terror and exhaustion. He looked around at his team, but their confused expressions told him they hadn't heard anything. "Captain?" Bradley asked, concerned. "You look like you've seen a ghost." Jake stared at the cube, its symbols now pulsing in rhythm with his heartbeat. Whatever was inside, it was aware, and it was afraid. The voice from within the voice came again, clearer this time, filling Jake's mind with its urgency. "My name is Zara. I am the last of the Eternal Keepers. What you see before you is not a treasure chest or ancient artifact. It is a prison, and I am its guardian." Jake stumbled backward, his hand instinctively moving to his sidearm. His team immediately went on alert, weapons drawn, scanning the chamber for threats they couldn't see. "Captain, what's wrong?" Diana asked, her voice tight with concern. "Your vitals are spiking." Jake held up a hand for silence, listening to the voice. That only he could hear. The cube's surface rippled like liquid mercury, and the symbols rearranged themselves into new configurations. The air in the chamber grew thick, charged with an electricity that made their hair stand on end. "You can hear me," Zara's voice continued, wonder mixing with relief. "Your species ... humans. You have something we never expected. A natural resistance to psychic intrusion, yet an openness to voluntary contact. This is why you alone can hear me." "What's inside the cube?" Jake whispered, ignoring the confused looks from his team. "The Devourer," Zara replied, her mental voice. heavy with centuries of sorrow. My people discovered it eons ago, drifting between stars. We thought it was a gift from the cosmos, a source of unlimited energy. We were wrong. It feeds on consciousness itself, growing stronger with each mind it consumes. Bradley moved closer to Jake, his scanner detecting massive fluctuations in the captain's neural activity. Sir, your brain patterns are off the charts. Are you experiencing some kind of contact? Jake nodded slowly, his eyes never leaving the cube. There's someone inside. She's been trapped for thousands of years, keeping something contained. My entire civilization gave their lives to cage this horror, Zara explained. I volunteered to be the final lock, to remain conscious and maintain the barriers that keep it dormant. But I am dying, human. My essence fades with each passing century. Soon, there will be nothing left to hold it back. The chamber suddenly shook, dust falling from the crystalline ceiling. The cube's surface began to crack, hairline fractures spreading across its perfect geometry. Through the cracks, they could see something moving inside, something that hurt to look at directly. It knows you're here, Zara warned. It can sense your minds, your life force. It's trying to break free, using your presence as a catalyst. Diana's instruments screamed warnings as reality itself seemed to bend around the cube. Captain, we need to leave. The structural integrity of the chamber is failing. But Jake couldn't move. He felt the weight of Zara's sacrifice, the burden she had carried alone for millennia. Through their connection, he saw flashes of her memories. Proud cities of crystal and light, beings of pure thought and energy, all consumed by the creature. They had tried to harness. There must be something we can do, Jake said aloud, causing his team to exchange worried glances. Perhaps, Zara replied, hope flickering in her mental voice. Your species has something mine lacked, the ability to act without perfect knowledge, to make sacrifices based on faith rather than certainty. But the cost. The terrible choice, the cube's cracks widened, and through them seeped a darkness that seemed to devour light itself. Jake felt the temperature in the chamber drop, and his breath came out in visible puffs. His team's instruments went haywire, displays flickering between readings that made no sense. Captain, we're detecting massive gravitational anomalies, Bradley reported, his voice strained. It's like space-time is warping around that thing. Zara's voice grew more urgent in Jake's. Mind, the devourer is stirring. Your arrival has given it hope of freedom. It will try to manipulate you, to convince you that releasing it is the only way to save your people. As if summoned by her words, another presence invaded Jake's thoughts. This one was vast and ancient, filled with hunger that spanned galaxies. When it spoke, its voice was like the whisper of dying stars. Human, it purred, you have traveled so far to find me. I can give you everything your species desires. Knowledge beyond imagination, power over matter and energy, the secrets of transcending mortality itself. Jake gritted his teeth, fighting against the seductive pull of the creature's words. Around him, his team was struggling to maintain their equipment as reality continued to warp. Don't listen to it, Zara warned. It showed my people the same visions. It fed on our curiosity, our desire to understand the universe. Each secret it shared made us hungrier for more, until we were willing to do anything to possess its knowledge. Diana suddenly cried out, her scanner exploding in a shower of sparks. The energy readings are off the scale. Captain, whatever's happening, it's accelerating. The devourer's presence pressed against Jake's mind like a physical weight. Look at your companions, it whispered. So fragile, so limited. I can make them immortal, give them minds capable of comprehending the infinite. All you have to do is complete the sequence your hand began. Jake looked at his team, saw the fear in their eyes as they struggled to understand what was happening. They trusted him, followed him into the unknown because they believed in his judgment. The responsibility felt crushing. "There is another way," Zara said quietly, "but it requires a sacrifice that goes against everything your species values. You would have to choose to remain, to take my place as guardian." "No," Bradley shouted, somehow sensing the direction of Jake's thoughts. "Captain, we don't abandon our people." But Jake was already moving toward the cube, his hand reaching for the largest crack in its surface. "The knowledge it offers," he said to Zara. "Is it real?" "Terrifyingly so," she replied. "The Devourer has consumed millions of civilizations. It possesses all their accumulated wisdom, all their discoveries. But the price is everything you are, everything you could become." The crack under Jake's hand pulsed with dark energy. He could feel the creature's eagerness, its desperate hunger for freedom. Through Zara's memories, he saw what it had done to her people, how it had turned their greatest minds into hollow shells, their bodies into feeding vessels for its insatiable appetite. "There's a third option," Jake said suddenly, his voice cutting through the chaos. "We don't open it completely, and we don't leave it sealed. We take it with us." The gamble Jake's announcement sent shockwaves through his team. Bradley grabbed his arm, his face pale with disbelief. "Captain, you can't be serious. We have no idea what that thing is capable of." "That's exactly why we can't leave it here," Jake replied, his voice steady despite the terror clawing at his mind. "Zara's dying. When she's gone, there'll be nothing to stop it from escaping. At least if we take it to Earth, our best minds can study it, maybe find a permanent solution." The Devourer's presence recoiled at his words, its seductive whispers turning to rage. "Foolish human. You would condemn your entire species for the sake of a dying alien's fantasy." But Zara's mental voice carried new hope. "It could work. Your people's resistance to psychic manipulation, their unpredictable creativity, they might succeed where we failed." Diana looked at her ruined instruments, then at the cube that seemed to pulse with malevolent life. "How do we even move?" "Something like that. Our ship's not equipped for xenoarchaeological transport of this magnitude." "The cube responds to conscious intent," Zara explained through Jake. "It was designed to be portable, to allow my people to study the Devourer safely. But the moment you begin transport, it will fight back with everything it has." Jake felt the weight of command settling on his shoulders. Every decision he'd made in 20 years of service had led to this moment. He looked at his team, these brave souls who had followed him into the unknown, and knew he was about to ask them to risk everything. "Tom, contact the ship. Tell them to prepare the cargo bay for hazardous material transport. Diana, can you jury-rig some kind of containment field from our equipment?" "Captain," Bradley said quietly, "if this thing is as dangerous as you think, maybe we should just bury this chamber and forget we ever found it." The Devourer seized on his words, its influence reaching out to touch the minds of the entire team. Suddenly, they could all hear its voice, feel its ancient hunger pressing against their thoughts. "Yes," it whispered, "listen to your subordinate. Leave me here where I can slowly die, denied the nourishment I need to survive. Is that not cruelty beyond measure?" Diana stumbled, her hand pressed to her temple. It's in my head. I can see things, beautiful things. Cities of light, beings of pure energy, ... The same visions it showed my people," Zara warned. "Do not let it seduce you with dreams of transcendence." Jake moved quickly, placing himself between his team and the cube. "Everyone, look at me. Focus on my voice, not its whispers. Remember why we're here, to explore, to learn, to protect humanity from the unknown." The chamber shuddered as the Devourer's rage intensified. Cracks appeared in the crystalline walls, and the air itself seemed to thicken with malevolent energy. But Jake's team rallied, their training and loyalty overcoming the creature's psychic assault. "All right," Bradley said, his voice shaking but determined. "If we're doing this insane thing, we do it right. How do we move a cosmic horror without getting ourselves killed?" Zara's presence grew stronger, as if Jake's decision had given her new strength. "There is a way, but it requires absolute trust between us. I must merge my consciousness with yours. Use your mind as a conduit to maintain the barriers during transport." "What does that mean for the captain?" Diana asked, her scanner somehow managing to function despite the chaos. "It means," Jake said, quietly, "that I won't be entirely human anymore. Part of me will always be connected to this thing, always fighting to keep it contained." The Guardians' bond, the merge, began before Jake could change his mind. Zara's consciousness flowed into his like water into a drought-stricken riverbed. For a moment, he experienced existence as she did, pure thought unbound by physical form. Awareness spanning millennia, the crushing weight of duty carried across countless lonely centuries. "I'm sorry," she whispered as their minds intertwined. "I should have warned you about the pain." Jake's scream echoed through the chamber as alien memories flooded his brain. He saw the rise and fall of civilizations, the birth and death of stars, the terrible moment when the Devourer first spoke to Zara's people. But underneath the agony, he felt something unexpected: relief. For the first time in eons, Zara was no longer alone. "Captain." Bradley lunged forward, but Diana caught his arm. "Don't interfere," she said, her voice filled with wonder. "Look at the cube." The cracks in its surface were healing, the chaotic energy readings stabilizing. The Devourer's rage-filled whispers faded to a sullen murmur as the strengthened barriers contained its influence. Jake straightened, his eyes now carrying flecks of the same luminescent blue that had marked Zara's people. "The transport window is narrow," Jake said, his voice carrying an odd harmonic that hadn't been there before. "We have maybe an hour before the strain becomes too much for the barriers." They worked with desperate efficiency. Diana cobbled together a containment field from their portable equipment, while Bradley coordinated with their ship's crew. The cube seemed to cooperate, its weight shifting and adjusting as they maneuvered it onto their transport sled. But as they moved through the crystalline corridors toward their landing site, the Devourer made its final play. It abandoned its attempts at seduction, instead projecting pure terror into their minds. Visions of Earth consumed, humanity reduced to empty shells, the universe itself devoured by its endless hunger. "It's showing us possible futures," Zara's voice echoed in Jake's mind. "Not certainties, but warnings of what could happen if we fail." Jake felt his team's resolve wavering, saw Diana stumble as the visions overwhelmed her. But he also felt something else, the strength that had carried humanity from caves to stars, the stubborn refusal to surrender that had seen them through countless disasters. "Listen to me," he said, his enhanced voice cutting through the psychic assault. "Every species in the galaxy has faced moments like this. Most chose the easy path. They hid, they ran, they pretended the danger didn't exist. But we're human. We look at the impossible and say, 'Watch us.'" His words seemed to strengthen the barriers around the cube. The Devourer's influence receded, its ancient hunger contained but not defeated. As they loaded their prize onto the ship, Jake felt the weight of his new responsibility settling into his bones. "What happens now?" Bradley asked as they secured the cube in the cargo bay. Jake looked at his reflection in the polished metal walls, seeing eyes that held depths no human gaze had ever possessed. "Now we go home. We turn this over to people smarter than us, and we hope they can find a way to destroy it permanently." "And if they can't?" Diana asked quietly. Jake felt Zara's presence in his mind, her centuries of sacrifice and determination. Now part of him. Then we do what Guardians do. We hold the line, no matter what it costs. As their ship lifted off from Kepler 442b, The cube sat silent in its containment field. But Jake knew it was far from defeated. The real battle was just beginning, and humanity's greatest test lay ahead. He had opened the box, not to release what was inside, but to carry it home. Whether that choice would save his species or doom can remain to be seen. The voice inside no longer begged him not to open it. Now it whispered warnings of the struggles yet to come, and Jake listened, knowing that his human stubborn streak might be the universe's last hope against the darkness that hungered for all conscious thought.